Spinning beach ball. Not what I want. All right, okay, here's the link. Here's the live link. I'm dropping it in the chat right now. And drop it into the schedule, and then we are green light go. Where are we? So nice when I'm ahead of the game. All right. Okay. All right. Okie doke. That's all good. Sorry guys, my browser's being dumb. It does not bode well. It's one of those days where I kind of knew I really needed to reboot my laptop and then never actually had like the 10 minutes it takes. Oh man. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. That's schedule right now. Let's talk about the social dilemma, huh? Let's talk about that dilemma. Let's talk about experiencing for ourselves the dynamics of being threatened by YouTube. Huh? Should we talk about that? For the 6 or 7 that showed up. Oh man. Okay. So here we are. All right, let me get rid of that. Okay, we're green light. Wait. Ooh, just a second. Is that thing working? I feel like. Is it how's signal? Is video still streaming? I've got an error that goes YouTube's not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, user or viewers will experience buffering. Not going to affect the recording, shouldn't. And for everybody watching on Discord, no effect. Okay. So, hey, two things. Okay, I think we're good. Sorry for the delay. I want to show you one thing that I got. Remember our conversation about writing last time? Yeah, you do. Okay. Just making sure there's not like any weird privacy things. Check it out. Look what I got from Amazon. Is that, yeah. Zen and the Art of Writing by Ray Bradbury. On Writing by Stephen King. I don't know. I don't know the other books. I know some of these authors, but I don't know these books. Anyway, is that okay? Everybody good with that? Any thoughts so far? Help me out here. I'm feeling really alone. I want to make sure we don't have the black hole going on. I don't know. What do you think of it? What do you think of that? Is that? I don't know. Did I click on the links? Was it just that I said, yeah, they are, are they book options for your reading? Oh, way to go, pragmatic, Gabe. I'm here whining about Big Brother, big tech equals Big Brother, and you're like, can we count those? Um, Let me do this. I would count them for some modicum of extra credit because like I would for Strunk and White, because I really would like to encourage you to get better at writing. But as for book number two, I really want that to be about computers and society, so we're reinforcing that idea. That's my that's my audible that I'm calling on that. Hope does that make sense? Thank you, Gabe. That's it. Um, all right, that was one little tidbit. It cracked me up. Like the next day or something after our last class, that email shows up. I'm like, okay, the bots are out in full force. I just unhighlighted this guy. So this is like whatever. Do this as I said before. When I delay on something and I'm a dumb, then I'm not going to hold you accountable deadline wise. So do another very short story. Uh, and I still need to do some grading on the first ones. So but there's Zen, there's Zen in the art of writing and on writing as little optional things. I already mentioned Strunk and White. Did I put Strunk and White up here? Yeah, there we go. The Elements of Style. And a few other ones that are good. This one here, Eats, Shoots, and Leaves, a remarkably readable book about punctuation. Um, and it reminds me of the comedy routine by Gary Goldman, my favorite comedian working today, about the documentary that he supposedly watched about the abbreviating of the 50 states. It's very funny. All right, okay. So I just wanted to give you the update on that's what's going down. We're going to kind of wrap a couple things up, and then I've got to do a little bit of Mondo soul searching about Thursday and Tuesday, because the following Thursday, the 4th and the 9th, Dr. K out of office, doing my little recovery thing, and possibly the Thursday of that week. Well, yeah, the 4th, and then the 9th, and then possibly the 11th, depending upon how the powerful narcotics are treating me. Um, but let's talk about the social dilemma. For those who were there, you want to. I just want to thank those who were there. We made a valiant effort. We started streaming. I sent out the announcement on Saturday. We did the one is good. I have an alternate approach, by the way, that I've been brainstorming about. But uh, we we started. We kind of set it up, talked a little bit, and got things kind of going. And um, I started streaming to YouTube. Now, what was it? What was it? Like 10 minutes or something into the thing? YouTube just stops the stream and says basically copyright violation. And we're like, so we basically the bottom line is we piddled around, wasted our time for probably an hour in the end. Those who were there can like sanity, double check my memory on that, right? Right. We're in the middle of this thing streaming it, and they're just like, I don't know, right? I mean, it must be just like does Netflix? It must be the case that Netflix or any of these services is going to like upload. I don't know this. I'm just um, yeah, I can stream it on Discord. It has to do with recording, but I'm going to go there, Gabe. Um, but then we like, oh, it's set to public. Let me restart it, set the setting to private, and it was still like, you couldn't see it. You had to manually add people to the link, and then it was still a private link, so you had to like give people a link and then manually add them in order to have it all work. And then it was like working, and we're like, okay, we're going again. I'm eating my popcorn like a boss, and then like 10 minutes later, and eventually, and I'm like, we're trying to figure it out. Well, what about that? Let's try it again. Blocks us. And then in the end, I got a warning. I got basically a takedown warning for the whole site. That's how we ended, which basically, y'all should have been there. But, and really apologies for those who were there. I mean, we tried debugging and it was an adventure, but um, yeah, I got a warning. It said basically, this is a warning. And the next time you pull a stunt like this, we're going to take your site down for a week. And then the next time after that, it's 2 weeks, and the next time after that is permanently banned. That was the deal. Any other reflections from anybody who was there? So we tried. We came. We saw. We left. But here's the thing. So Gabe asked, "Can we stream it on Discord?" Yeah. Here's what I'm actually thinking about. I have an idea, a new idea that we can maybe do this Saturday, which is here's my cool idea. I have a software that's called ScreenFlow. Works really, really well. It's super slick and great editing capability in this thing. And what I would do is basically set it up just like this, stream it to Discord, just like we do, but Discord, basically Discord just for well, you can watch, right, audio and the video, but no stream to YouTube. All right. But I'd be recording it myself and I'd have my own like recorded local copy of the recording. It would never go out. But then you're like, okay, what about your stupid MacBook problem with Discord where we can't get audio, right, to go through Discord? We keep the voice chat on Discord for us to talk, but the audio for Netflix, we do a Netflix watch party. So anybody who wants to join into that thing would have to have access to Netflix. We do a watch party. Then you're watching at the same, then we're all watching at the same time. Then we're synced up on the watching. You've got your own audio. And then on Discord, we've got the audio chat. And I'm still streaming a picture like the one you see here, but I'm recording it myself. So I'm basically just recording essentially my OBS stream into a separate video file. Then what I can do with that is doctor it up, edit it up as needed, and I can either, well, I probably don't dare push that up to YouTube. Uh, so what we do with that is I either push it up to Canvas, because by the way, I've investigated this in the past. A class of students and a teacher where you're registered for the class, that kind of thing, um, can watch an entire movie together, and it's fair use because it's educational, private. That the public part was a problem. I grant that. Yeah. So we either push it up on Canvas, or if Canvas, coughs up a lung from all the load, we can just store it out there as a file and put it on a Google Drive and post the link to the Google Drive. You know, I don't know. Yeah. So Matthew, let's talk about. So here's the deal, Matthew. Double check this. If you're a Discord guru, which I don't doubt, but my understanding is that there's a bug in the Mac native Discord app that I could do what I was trying to do, because even like the browser itself, I am just sharing the window. It's true. It's true. Well, I got to play with it. Matthew, if you're willing at some point, I won't be available right after class today, but if at some point I would love to try to debug that again and try to find a configuration that works. So, yeah, right. No, that's what I'm saying, Christian. Right? Just put the MP3 on Canvas. Okay. Corona started reading Cuckoo's Egg. Pretty intense. Yep. 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 Okay. And by the way, just real quick. Okay. All right. I'm good. Anyway, that's our story. So what do you think? Watch party again? Watch party on Saturday? Same time? Maybe. The alternative is I just do it myself. You know what I mean? And then we just don't get the give and take. But I think the watch party would be fun. Um, okay, yeah, pizza party, buy your own pizza, Alfredo. Okay, all right, good, good, good. Done with that. What I want to do today, actually, since I've been just running like madness all day, I want to double back and I want to just catch up on the writing stuff and the orders of ignorance. I know we're still in that like preparatory thing. Yeah, that's it, Wade. That would be the whole idea, is to make sure that there was a copy that everybody else could watch. And then just to be really, really clear, in case anyone is still confused, uh, watching the Netflix watch party would be the 2, maybe even 3 days of class. And I don't mean 3 in the sense that we would take that long, but we just like excuse out those 3 days. You know what I mean? So that would be like the 2 or 3 no class days, because the watch party would be the replacement for class. So I think that works. Okay, then let's just go. Let's just go on the when is good. I believe that Saturday at 5 was again the least contested time. By the way, Alfredo, okay, Alfredo, you're not suggesting that I didn't do that last time, are you? You're saying make sure, because I did it last time. I did put an announcement, so maybe make sure that I'm not misunderstanding. That's the announcement I threw out there last week as an announcement on Canvas, Social Dilemma Watch Party, despite it being a bust. Um, So be more clear about, um, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm understanding what the, you know what I mean, what the recommendation or the suggestion is. Gabe, yes, the 4th, the 9th, and then maybe the 11th. Yeah, John, we're talking about another replacement Social Dilemma watch party. Yeah. So we talked about this last time. I'll make exceptions for, if people have watched it, uh, and you really don't want to go through all that again. I'll create an edited down version of just the commentary portions. Um, you know what I mean? So if everybody's watched it, you don't have to, you know what I mean, watch the whole thing. Well, the other alternative is give you green light to say watch it, and then just scan through until, well, it's not going to be obvious visually. I'll edit it down, but we'll get it something like that. But we did talk about that, and so you don't have to like, I watched it last week and then you have to watch it again. That would be dumb. Okay, what else, my friends? Um, oh, Gabe, I'm sorry. Okay, let's see. All right, we're gonna bring this thing forward here. And one other thing, by the way, for Thursday's writing assignment is going to be, let me push this up here. I gotta unbold. I gotta make it back to normal text here in a sec. But just as a pointer, what we're gonna do Thursday is gonna be, the writing assignment is gonna be a current event. You can't see that, okay? But it says current event 1. With a current event, it's basically a paragraph writing. It's one paragraph. Do not say extraneous crap. Delete your first sentence or two after you think you've got it. Delete your way to glory. Make it tight, but it still ought to be 5, you know what I mean, 5 lines or so on a normal blog, just a smallish paragraph. But the inspiration for it is something you found, anything related to the topic, and you don't need to reference it. You don't even need to say anything about it. In fact, I'd prefer you didn't. You just need to have a link to it so that I can, look at it, collect the link. And so you're finding some bit of writing somewhere, somehow, right, that relates to the topic. Okay. And you guys, any questions about that? Does that make sense? Your silence speaks volumes. Um, the topic is anything is computers and society and ethics and anything. So unlike some of the smallish posts where we're going to have like assigned topics, read these things, watch these things in preparation for our discussion, the current events is still more kind of like, go find something that you like, and that's your topic. But this is, really, really important, okay? You are not writing a book report. This is not eighth grade. You are not writing a response to the article. You're not telling me about the article. You're maybe not even referencing the article. That's fine. And if you do reference the article, you know, it might be something like, Twitter banned President Trump for life this, 2 weeks ago, and then there's some of that is like hyperlinked, and there's a link to an article, right? Like you get in a lot of uh, news aggregator sites or sites that are reporting about other stuff. Just embedded in the stuff is a link, and when you mouse over, you see the link. That's what tells you there's a link. You don't have to say it's a link, okay? So literally, I don't want you to respond to, reply to, refer to even. You don't have to. I would like you to not refer to the article. Just provide it, cite it, reference it, highlight. Okay. What I want you to do is write your own paragraph, right? So, Twitter banned President Trump for life last week. This is what is wrong with America. When technology companies blah, 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 then the blah, blah, blahs suffer, right? And you build this little paragraph, one idea, one thought, one paragraph about it. And it is not, when I read this article, it got me thinking. No, no, no. Say your thing. Say what you thought, okay? And we will talk more about that, okay? Is that cool? Everybody got that? Clarifying questions? Now is your time for clarifying questions about that. But that's current event one. You come up with the reference, it becomes the inspiration for what you're going to write. I don't want you to write about it or talk about it directly if you can avoid it. Yeah, they're not live, Rebecca. They are not. They are gray. They're in the gray zone, and I will uh, I will darken these up and make them colors a little bit later. Yeah. Okay. All right. Look, we're fake it till we make it. This is how we do this thing. That's how we roll. And so thanks for your patience while we figure stuff out. And then I try to reciprocate that same patience and understanding, you know, going back at you. So, all right. Let me jump over, and I actually need to clarify a couple of quick things. On my first set of slides, we got through, hang on, sorry, I gotta reboot my laptop. I wish I had gotten to it. Okay, what I'm doing right now is just kind of like we're just cleaning up. Okay, we're setting everything up. I went through stuff about me, right? Yes, no, stuff about me. Did we get through that? Pictures of me as a Pharisee and as Sad Santa and other things like that. Did we do that? It's confusing, right? Because it's three classes and staggered everything. Did we get through take this fish and look at it? Did we touch take this fish? All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated. All right. So today is Orders of Ignorance. All right. Good, good, good. We probably started the Orders of Ignorance. Did I give you Calvin and Hobbes? Do you remember Calvin and Hobbes happening? Do you remember? Did we talk about this slide? Okay. All right. That sounds like a no. Here we go. Here we go. Orders of Ignorance. Once again, now, and for those of you that are also in like 3450, I also do this. So some of you are confused because I think you're also in there. Okay, this is just an ancient, all Calvin and Hobbes is ancient by now, but it's all classic because Watterson was a friggin' genius. Um, this I think is really, really relevant to our general topic. And I also want to be clear, when I'm talking about the orders of ignorance, I'm talking about the way in which we think about the world. And if we can't have clarity and think about the world, you cannot, I don't think you can truly act ethically if you don't have an understanding, a conscious understanding. You know what I mean? If you're acting ethically with no conscious understanding of anything involving why or what or anything, I think there's a risk of being sort of like an obedient automaton complying to the relative ethics of some particular, group to which the automaton slash human um, is a part. But I think that truly ethical behavior, and correct me if you disagree, with this at all, please disagree and contradict me. Drop the comment, or or make the verbal comment. Um, but so the orders of ignorance are about the biggest problem that I see in this millennium so far, at least this decade, past decade. Um, is people who struggle. It's almost like everybody at every extreme of every political persuasion is like some weird psychotic narcissist who thinks everything's about them. Um, the ability to understand where you're wrong, where I am wrong, okay, that to me is the beginning of ethics and of ethical behaviors. Because if I can never be wrong, I don't know that I can truly be ethical. I really don't. My opinion, just my opinion. Your mileage may vary. Let's hit it. Calvin and Hobbes. Um, Calvin, he began basically everything turns neo-cubist for Calvin, right? Everything is suddenly turned neo-cubist. I apologize for the resolution on this is not. It's very pixelated, and I need to go seek a better one or scan one from my own copy of the complete Calvin and Hobbes. Um, it all started when Calvin engaged his dad in a minor debate. Soon, Calvin could see both sides of the issue. Then poor Calvin began to see both sides of everything, right? So that's that Picasso, right? Neo-Cubist. The traditional single viewpoint. The traditional single viewpoint has been abandoned. Perspective has been fractured. The multiple views provide too much information. It's impossible to move. Calvin quickly tries to eliminate all but one perspective. It works, right? And then, on this, wherever it is, you can see it. Uh, he's back to the normal three-dimensional Calvin and Hobbes world. The world falls into a recognizable order, and then he trundles in right on the last frame. You're still wrong, Dad. It's like, whew, he saw both sides of everything for a minute, but he quickly saved himself by retreating back into his, sort of dogmatic univision, right? And again, I just think that dogmatic univision is anathema. It is contrary to the ideal of ethics and of what you might just consider to be uh, I don't know, rightness. By the way, another book. Ooh, I got to put this on the reading list. Okay, I'm making a note. The book is The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt. The Righteous Mind. If somebody would not mind, maybe just like grab a link from Amazon or wherever you acquire books, and maybe just drop a link in the chat for The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt. And I need to put that in and also we need to put it into the approved book list. This would be a great book to read in this day and age, in this generation, and thinking about ethics, because it really has to do with the idea that adherence to these ideologies apparently whatever you want to call them, essentially have a self-constructed or a group-constructed view of what constitutes righteousness, right? And they align their minds with that view of righteousness, right? So they're not, like for example, when I was, thank you, yeah, yes, that should be it, John. It's really an amazing read, and I think Jonathan Haidt is an amazing scholar, thinker, and I really, really like him. Jonathan Haidt was probably, well, certainly one of the very influential thinkers, writers, researchers for my sort of gravitation toward, radical centrism, you know, extremes, radical civility, extreme civility, you know. And Jonathan Haidt is a guy who started as kind of a very left-leaning Democrat. um, he's now kind of a radical centrist, and which has pissed everybody off, right? And I'm really kind of a radical centrist, which is also pissed. It's amazing when I post things, on Facebook. I try not to do too much, and get just reamed by both sides, because I'm not rocking the team jersey. Bottom line, really, really, truly. Uh, anyway, it's staggering. It's staggering. You read Hate, you read uh, The Righteous Mind, and anyway, I just really recommend it. Okay, it can be book two, and it could be just another book that's going to change your life. Because at the end of the day, you've got to be able to get a view outside of yourself, right? You got to, it's insane. It's Everything's crazy. Everything is crazy. Okay. Thank you, Gabe. Thank you. Love you guys. Thanks for dropping the link, adding it to the approved books list. If somebody wouldn't mind, no, I got to do this. If somebody wouldn't mind editing that in Canvas, I would really appreciate it. Um, but I mean, isn't this, and Watterson was always very philosophical, right? Hence, Calvin and Hobbes are named after John Calvin and who is it? Thomas Hobbes? Who was Hobbes? Right? Calvin, who was a Protestant reformer, but very much a predestination guy. So therefore, kind of a fringe non-free will guy, actually. Calvin from a John Calvin from a religious perspective, and Hobbes. I swear I don't know as much about Hobbes as John Calvin. Again, if anybody would love to like drop a link, it would be fantastic, and greatly about Hobbes and John Calvin. And that's what Watterson's inspiration was, and that's why Calvin and Hobbes, the tiger, have these deeply metaphysical conversations while they're flying through the air in their what do you call it, the wagon, their little red wagon, right? Okay, this is really kind of what we're talking about, though. Okay, and so what I want to talk about, and I just want to tell you that I feel the need I want to rework these slides. I don't, the slides are not in their best, they're the best they've ever been. And I've been refining these slides for 15 years. Yeah, actually, pretty close. But I want to talk about the Orders of Ignorance by Philip Armour. Um, there are 5 orders of ignorance. We don't care about the 5th one, which is meta level ignorance, which is it's sort of it's I don't even know. It's kind of like an extreme obliviousness to all meta thinking, to all meta level, metaphysical thinking at all. You know what I mean? The kind of thing where somebody might go, I really think you're overthinking this thing, it ain't that complex, well, you know what I mean? And you might be like, well, it ain't that simple either. Uh, for that, I recommend Logan Lucky, a shockingly funny and good Ocean's 11 goes deep south, basically. The Italian job goes south. Okay, the orders of ignorance. So there are four that we care about. We're going to number them 0, 1, 2, and 3 because Phil is a software guy, older than me and currently retired. But uh, zeroth order ignorance is, and track these, the Q and the A, okay? These are important as sort of like questions, and we're going to talk about questions, answers, and frameworks. I usually do this on the board. It doesn't, I just have not worked out the pedagogy for how to, really translate this to slides, honestly. Usually I always do this on the board. But here's the idea. At zeroth order ignorance, you don't have ignorance, you have knowledge. This is the stuff that you provably know. Okay? It's a provable, demonstrable lack of ignorance, right? Now, in particular, what it means is I know the question and I know the answer. And I know that I know it. Ching, ching, ching. And so what's the goal? To look smart and get a good grade, right? Now, this is the interesting thing about education. Western education, at least, and modern Western education, at least, somewhere it kind of turned into a cattle run, you know what I mean? Where everything was kind of like stamped out. But we kind of got into this mode where it was about the regurgitation of facts. So why, right? Why did that become what education? Why did education become that? There's some truth to that. There's a lot of truth to that, right? There are facts you got to know. You want to speak French, you better understand how to conjugate use some verbs in French. You got to be able to do that, right? So yes, there are things you wind up knowing in sort of the course of learning to do something. But another great book, which just yes happens to be right here. I didn't plan this. It's another book that should be on the approved list. The World is Flat by Thomas Friedman. I think this book, this is a third edition, a later edition. I read an earlier edition. But I think it's phenomenal, especially if you lived through what Friedman's talking about. And for anybody who knows Friedman as a New York Times columnist of markedly leftist bent, I find The World is Flat, at least the edition I read, to be very balanced politically and devoid of kind of crazy team bias and more about history and dynamics and really quite like it. But one of the things that Friedman talks about is outsourcing, right? As an issue, is it ethically right to outsource? There's these other issues that deal with offshoring and outsourcing, right? But the idea is that all of the jobs at zeroth order, if the entire job is zeroth order ignorance, you can be replaced by a machine or a bot or outsourced overseas to cheaper labor, right? And by the way, let me be really clear, and I'm not going to get all the way into this debate because it's just a little bit off our topic. But these are the jobs that minimum wage was designed for, in my opinion, and based on my read of history. So, minimum wage was designed for the 16-year-old job while you're in college, flipping burgers at McDonald's. But here's the thing about an independent: do not get derailed on that. And you can also disagree with me on that. And I would love the discussion and love to, learn where I also need, if there's new insight to all of these things. But if you're working at McDonald's flipping burgers and making fries, you understand that they have put a lot of effort into making that fry, which is incredible, for like 2 minutes. There's a sigmoid function at play, right, on the relative integrity and quality of a McDonald's French fry. And for about 2 minutes, it's really delish, crazy delish. It's edible for like another 5. Then it returns unto the substance from which it came. Ostensibly potatoes? I'm not sure. I'm not so sure. We can't say. But here's my point. What is your point, Dr. K? My point is that if you're 16 years old, you're a snot-nosed kid working at McDonald's, your first job in high school, and back when that was a thing, getting a job in high school, and there's instructions on how to do the fries, and there is nothing you're going to do as a 16-year-old kid to that doesn't involve doing exactly what the instructions say, right? There's nothing you're going to do by changing that's going to make a better fry. All you're going to do is make it worse, right? Because you're kind of paid to do and not to think. And if they have the ability to just automatically move frozen fries from the freezer and at the right moment drop them in the hot grease and everything flippity flip, and then just things of little containers of French fries come hot and piping just right on time, you don't think they would do that? You don't think they would do that? There's only, there's a trade over, there's a crossover point between cost of labor and cost of technology and the other dynamics that have to come into play for certain kinds of problems. Okay, there are problems that are cheapest solution remains let a 16-year-old high school kid do it, and we can talk more about this off topic, but it is one of the dynamics at play again in a minimum wage conversation, because once if you said that kid had to be paid $40 an hour, for example, I guarantee you that within a year somebody would produce a machine that would take frozen fries into hot, tasty, with no human intervention within about a year, because you'd hit the crossover point. You'd hit the crossover point, and then all those jobs would be gone. My own opinion, based upon my reading of history and my understanding of economics. And you get to disagree with me, and I might be wrong. I want to talk about that. Okay. This is zeroth order. This is zeroth order ignorance. Okay. And Coder said, who's that? Dakota. Kiosks will start to replace workers, right? Yeah. No, that's in fact. I remember when kiosks showed up at the airport for like Delta, which is the main airline that I tend to fly. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, oh. Anyway, separate issue. So grateful for the kiosk, but I could never explain to an agent what it was I was trying to do at my body size. You know what I mean? Which is 6'2" and 200 plus, 200 plus plus. You know, I'm looking for a certain kind of thing, and what she's going to tell me isn't going to be it. Okay, that was zeroth order. Here's first order. In first order ignorance, you know the question, but you don't know the answer. You do know the question. Now, if you know a question and you don't know the answer, you know that you don't know, correct? You know that you don't know because you know the question and you know that you don't have the answer. So you have that awareness. The way I'm doing this notationally is, yes, Q yes, and not A. So I know the question, I don't know the answer. Okay? And that's the part where maybe you feel dumb or whatever, and you shouldn't. And we talk Dunning-Kruger. Is that still? I don't know who shared that earlier today. What was it? Was it in 2010? I don't remember. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. That's first order ignorance. Now, here's the thing. Most of high school education and a very large part of college education, undergrad at least, is essentially zeroth and first order ignorance. Okay? I'm going to teach you the well-known questions and I'm going to give you the well-known answers. Right? How do you say I speak in Italian? And the answer is io parlo. And I'm going to teach you that. And then what about you speak, or whatever, we speak, noi parliamo, right? I'm going to teach you this connection between the questions and the answers. You're going to acquire some skills. Then later on, I'm going to separate you from your resources to see what's stuck in here. I'm going to give you the questions, and I'm going to invite you to deliver back to me the answers, right? Well-known questions, well-known answers. Zeroth and first order ignorance. Okay? Now, Friedman would argue correctly that these are not high-skilled jobs. They aren't where all the cool stuff happens. They aren't where innovation happens. They aren't where big value add happens. Okay? And they can generally be outsourced. Okay? Generally. One of the main reasons that drive-throughs, for example, there was a lot of discussion. I think the last time, anyway, back to minimum wage. But there was a lot of discussion at some point a few years back about, drive through, can you get a bot to do that? Can you get some AI to talk to you? Hate those. Can you literally outsource that order taking overseas? Like literally, you're at the drive through and you're talking to, somebody from Hyderabad, or Peru or Vietnam or whatever. I don't care, right? I mean, just a developing country where cost of labor is a lot lower. Anyway, these are not the interesting things, okay? And I think the reason we don't teach more of this, of what's above this, is I just think it's harder to teach it, honestly, and it doesn't scale as well. Honestly, I think that's the problem. If I can ask you multiple choice questions, I can economically shove information into you. You regurgitate, we give you your diplomas and shake your hand, and off you go. Back when handshaking was a thing. Okay. Yeah, thank you again for Dunning-Kruger. All right, let's go. You ready? Second order ignorance. But here's the thing. What happens at second order ignorance is, what if the answer, what if, was that, what if that's not the right answer? Yeah. Now what? Do you get to challenge that? When you get to grad school, they usually let you challenge the answers, Well, when you get really into the PhD level, what you really ought to be prepared to do is challenge the questions. Like, that's not even the right question to be asking. Oh, that's when the whole foundation gets disrupted, right? When you change, you challenge the question. Okay, second degree. Oh, interlude. I'm going to give you an interlude right now. And I need to look at something really, really quick. Okay, that's a negatory. Okay. All right. Okay, I want to talk about this. It's very important. Here's the thing. We talked a little bit about this, did we not? Does this ring a bell? The first part, the thrill of saying I don't know. Nicely played, Devin. I honestly, man, it's between 3450 in this class. There's so much overlap at the very beginning before it diverges, and I can't remember what I said to who. Here's the thing. Here's the paradox. Show me a group of people and line them up, rank them, pull them apart, pull them aside, and let's just say that individually you're able to somehow assess the likelihood that this person will say I don't know when they don't know something, as opposed to, right, from the highest most likely to the least likely to say I don't know when they don't know something. Okay? When you line these people up, the people who are most likely to say I don't know are paradoxically, or maybe in fact just causally, the ones who actually tend to know the very most. And they're the ones who say I don't know the most because they say it not because they don't know more than others. They in fact don't know less than others. But when they don't know, they ask. So every single time it gets kind of exposed. The other person on the other end of the spectrum is, um, paralyzed with fear of being discovered. It's like junior high. You know what? You don't know that. Right? Um, and everyone's like, you're an idiot. And then pretty soon we mask it. There's a thing that happens and you don't know what it is, right? Everyone's saying it. And then this is why teachers sometimes say, there are no stupid questions. But we all know there are. So that's actually lying to you. There are stupid questions. But there are a lot of questions that everybody thinks are stupid that are legitimate and reasonable and shouldn't be mocked. Okay, so it leads to this idea of what I call the joy of being wrong. Imagine that you've got this view off your deck or whatever. It's a sunset view, beautiful sunsets, And one day you discover that there's like this big plasma screen, or there's a big butcher block paper that somebody's painted a sunset. It's not bad. It's not a bad sunset, but it's actually inaccurate. It's not right. And right. And then one day someone just goes, that's not actually a sunset, right? That's a painting of a sunset. And you're like, no. And then eventually they tear the butcher block paper away, and then you see a real sunset for the first time, in your life, maybe even. And then you're like, wow, okay, because like the real thing, you know. Now, granted, some truths are beautiful like a sunset, and there are truths that are not, that are a little harder to take. But I still rather operate in a domain of truth, that rather than that's a paradox. Ceci n'est pas une pipe, classic paradox painting. Um, so when you discover that you're wrong, it's an opportunity. Now let me back up to one other kind of critical idea that is philosophically very, very important, and I want to pound on this, for just a second. Um, uh, okay, let's take all the things in my head that I believe, that I hold to be true. You know, right? There's a lot of things in my head that I hold to be true. There's a lot of things in your head that you hold to be true. Uh, Hundreds of thousands of things are in your head that you hold to be true. Now, of all the things that we each individually, now think about this, track with me here. Of all the things we each individually think are true, by definition, they are all believed by us to be true. That's definitional. Second point, it's not possible for everything that we hold to be true to in fact be true. Are you with me? It's not possible that everything you believe, even the big things, it's not possible that everything you believe to be true is in fact true. Literally impossible. Okay, what's the problem? No one can get lucky. No one's that lucky, Christian. Statistically, it doesn't exist. Um, what's the problem? I just admitted that some of the things that I believe to be true are not in fact true. What's the paradox? Anybody? Bueller? Bueller? How about, yeah, you still believe them, sure, but that's still definitional. What if that statement isn't true, though? That is one of the things, yeah. No, no, not you're going to believe it regardless. That's what I'm talking about here, James. The point is not to keep believing it regardless. And it's not the paradox of whether that statement is true. I'm holding it. I believe it to be true, and it could be one of the things that is wrong. But if we just start with that philosophical starting point, do I have an audio comment?
So you're asking what the paradox is between these two statements?
No. What the struggle is. I admit that some subset of the things I believe to be true are in fact not true. So
I guess
why don't I just go fix them?
because I guess you don't know what beliefs that you hold to be true are not true.
Yeah, yeah. You don't know which ones. That's the problem. You don't know which ones. So, you know, when you discover that you're wrong, there's this weird culture that's, really stigmatizes being wrong about, believing something and discovering that it was false. But the truth is that this realization that you were wrong about, it's a realization that you were wrong about something, or it's an upgrade from your piece of crap car to a better car, you know? Or it's an upgrade from your crappy microwave to a nice microwave, or to something that transcends microwaves. You know what I mean? It's a replacement of a flawed piece of equipment with a brand new, to the extent that you can perceive it, cleaner, truer, right? But it has to start with a perception that you were wrong. And if you can never be wrong, you can never have that moment. You can never have that little revelation, and it's not, in other words, it's like this. It's like this. Some of you play instruments or speak a language, okay? Um, let's take the bass. I play the bass, the electric bass. I've never played an upright bass. Never had my hands on one, frankly. But I play the electric bass. And I remember the first time when you play the bass, there's kind of a classic, this is a string. There's a two-finger pick that alternates. That's the standard. It deviates, right? But that's the basic standard. Some people get crazy in all their fingers, and John Entwistle of the Who looks over there like he's like tickling the ivories. But this is the standard, okay? And if you've never done it, it is ridiculously hard to just alternate your fingers. And it shouldn't matter which string you start on or which finger you start on, you can still alternate. Crazy difficult. And I remember when I was learning to do that, I was in my mid 30s. And I like work at work at work, and it was frustrating. And I went away, and then my brain kept working on it while I wasn't even playing. When I picked the bass back up, I could do it. Clearly, my brain had been like working on the problem, you know, while I wasn't playing it because I was so frustrated. Okay, here's the point. I have what should be your conclusion if you're in that moment, right? And you can finally do something, right? That you've been trying to do. You can finally hit that jumper, you can finally make the cursive, whatever, do the calligraphy, or kick a soccer ball, or you know what I mean, understand needlepoint, or figure out how to program in Python, or any of those things that we learn, you know, it's really unhealthy to be like, finally get that one day. You're like, do. Oh yeah, look at me, woo, right? And then someone comes in and I'm sitting there pouty. This did not happen, but I'm saying hypothetically, right? Someone comes in and you're sitting there pouty and like, Chuck, what's wrong? Are you okay? You're like, I just realized that I was bad at playing the bass, for like a couple of months. I was really bad at playing the bass for a couple of months. Well, how are you right now? Like I couldn't even do the two finger thing. How are you now? Oh, I can do it now. Okay. I mean, it seems goofy and nonsensical, right? Doesn't it? Like, why are you sad? Because I didn't have a car. What happened? I got one. What kind? Really nice. It's new. You're not happy about that? No, I feel humiliated because I didn't have one before. It's really distorted thinking, right? You got to check the thinking on that. So, right, where I'm going with that is that the realization that you're wrong falls into the same category as working on my arpeggios and then I finally could play it. That's what finally figuring out you were wrong. It's not like you found out you were flawed. You already knew you were flawed. You improved where it was flawed. It's just you don't see it quite the same way, but it's really not any different than learning to play an instrument or learning to speak a language, right? Language other than there's naturally, the language you're born raised speaking, but picking up a second language, right? A language that was not, or in any case, a language that was not your native language. Some people grow up with multiple native, languages. But, when you've got to be a little older and start from scratch to learn a language is what I'm talking about. Okay. So this is the key. This is the key that in this class, as we have these conversations, you got to know, you really, really need to know that I believe that one of the things I believe to be true really strongly is that, is this principle that I've just got to be wrong some chunk of the time. And being older doesn't make me right. Being handsome and white haired does not make me right. None of these things, being non handsome and white haired also doesn't make me right. You know, none of these things make you right. True story, when I'm in my 30s, mid 30s, I was having shall we say, a discussion with an elderly gentleman, many years my senior, 30 to 40 years older than me. And he was postulating a certain thing, and I was pretty convinced that he was wrong. And today I'm still pretty persuaded that he was wrong about the point that we were debating or discussing, and it really started when he said something and I'm like, I don't, you keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. It was a moment, it was just a casual moment like that, like, I don't think that's a thing. Oh yeah, no, that's a thing. Like, nah, thank you. Um, you know, Vicini and Inigo Montoya, thank you for the gift. And we went into this debate, and I'm like, okay, look, here's what I'm trying to say. Now it turns out that this is somebody that I knew for 35 years before he passed away, a year ago. I never did ever know him to one time, not one time, admit that he was wrong about anything. And I think it's horribly unhealthy. Horrible, horrible. But on this occasion, he was a guy who was really just not exercised at all in just being the guy who doesn't know something. It was not a thing he did. He couldn't be the guy who didn't know. He had to be the guy who was right. Um, and he said this, and it shocked me at the time and still does. And because he was at that time, probably about, about the age that I am right now. And I remember that I was, even as a 30-year-old, I was anchored on the facts and the logical construction of the argument. And I'm just like, no, look, this and that, da da da, ba da ba. And at some point in that conversation, he started to literally shake. Literally, he started shaking, and I think he might have even like shaken his finger at me. I wasn't unkind. I wasn't being snotty or pissy. I just was holding to, you know, I think in his experience, you just browbeat people and then the facts change, something like that. Uh, but he said, I have known this thing since I was younger than you, or, you know, that it was a proof by authority argument, right? I have known this thing for 35 years, and he said what he had to say. And I said, you understand, right? Right. Okay, hang on. I wanted to interject. Camille said, so much pressure to always know. Yes, Camille. So much pressure to always be right. It must be awful. Yes, exactly. Oh, anyway, I looked at him and I said, and I knew this was the end of our conversation. I said, you understand, right, that the length of time that an individual holds a belief has no bearing whatsoever on the relative merits or truthfulness of that belief. You get that, right? You know, in other words, and it was like, and again, and it is like he just started to like convulse. Um, but because he didn't get that because he had believed this thing for 35, you know, the type, the type. Um, anyway,
Are you
yeah,
able
man,
to tell us what the question was? I'm kind of
no,
curious now.
no, no, I won't. Uh, no, I'm not gonna go there. Honestly, I'm not. I remember, but I'm not gonna go there. Because I don't want to derail. I don't want to derail further. Uh, anyway, but this is my oath to you. Okay, my promise to you. Um, that as we have these discussions about potentially really charged topics, right? Um, I just want you to know that you don't have to agree with me. I gotta be wrong some of the time. I don't know what they are. Some of you might this semester help me to, get past some of those things, to understand things that I didn't know before, or that I didn't see before, or that I didn't perceive, or that I lacked the accuracy, right? And one of the most amazing experiences in my life, and I've had some of it last semester in this class, and hope to have some of that this semester, is here's somebody who believes a certain thing. Like I've kind of tipped my hand a little bit about how I feel about the minimum wage, for example, right? Because I hate poor people and I want everyone to eat dog food, right? That's why. Uh, you know what I mean? Again, it's that it comes back down to the vilifying of the others. The others, trademark, evil emoji, horn emoji, right? The others, right? If you don't believe the minimum wage should be raised to 15 bucks an hour, you are an ogre. You're probably racist. You know what I mean? You're probably a whole bunch of things. Well, guess what? Okay, that might be true. You might be all those things, but it's actually not germane to the discussion in the least, has no bearing on the discussion, and has no relationship whatsoever. The discussion has merits on its own or not, and it's the arguments and the discussion that go into understanding and constructing that. And people with self-confidence, true confidence in their own perspectives and where they stand, aren't terrified by going into a place that might reveal that they were wrong about something. They enjoy it. You know what I mean. They look forward to the journey, and I'm very much like that. Last semester, I had at least a half a dozen more. Um, Most of we jump on DM or jump on voice chat, on a DM, and discuss. And I'd be like, okay, there's this book that you really love, and I am aware of it. I think I know what's in it, but I obviously don't. But you love that stuff and I don't get it. Will you please explain to me? I promise I'm sincere and I promise I'm not trolling. You please help me understand from your perspective, you know. And what's crazy to me is I think that, I mean, 99% of the times, well, 83.8% of all stats are made up on the spot. But a very large percentage of the time, in my experience, once I start talking to somebody, you know, where, I've got my intense leftist friend and I'm trying to understand how, how you can attempt to burn down a federal building in Portland and that's okay, right? Because you can only truly ask that question of a leftist and then you're going to get some enlightenment, right? Or you're going to ask somebody on, that's an extreme whatever's on the far extreme alt right. I think I'd probably put QAnon and alt right kind of over there in that kind of extreme political place. Well, you got to talk to one and honestly try to understand where that logic comes from in order to understand it. Because none of these people, well, some of these people are crazy, but not all of them. And there's a lot of people that don't agree with you politically who are extreme. They're on the other side of you and then way extreme. And there are people like that are like on your side, as it were, who are way extreme. And you really are actually more in the middle of that than you thought going in. And you really have to listen and discover that there is a process of thinking that they are engaging in, that if you can get inside of it, you learn something and it changes you. And that's my encouragement to you, is to be open to that, and let it change you. I'm not here to just like dogmatically spark. In fact, you know what I despise probably just about more than anything on the planet? That's a big statement, but is, the captured videos of some college professor, because I am one, uh, ripping into somebody and spouting some political dogma. Get it out of the freaking classroom. And I'm talking about the spouting. The topic is discussable in certain topics. This be like a whatever calculus class or something, and some guy just decides to go on a rant, you know, and is that dogmatic, hyper partisan. It makes me insane because there's a power differential that's not fair. You know what I mean? The professor has a power differential over the students, and therefore respect has got to be expected and demanded and required, that respect. But you need to understand, I can still hold my opinions strongly and express them. You get to disagree with me, and I love it when you disagree with me. You know, but understand that I might go, I want to understand your perspective, and I'm going to push you to try to tease it apart and get down to the basics and try to build it back up. You know what I mean? And come along this thing together. It's the only way. It's the only way. Okay. Help me, Obi-Wan. It's our only hope. Okay, we're out of time almost. So jumping out of that, the second order ignorance, which I want to touch base again on Thursday. The second order ignorance, I didn't even know that was a question. Okay? But I do have a framework for generating questions. I have a way of finding out, right? So if somebody said, true story, I was new faculty at BYU, I'm in a dinner for new faculty, and this guy's talking about how his family members didn't know he was an economics. Was he an accounting professor? And his family didn't know that they had to do research in accounting. They're like, "What do you do for research in accounting?" And he was like, for him, that's a really dumb question because he knows. And what does it mean to do research? It means to know the questions. And then he was like, "Oh, enough." You're doing that thing, right? And I'm sitting over there just kind of going, uh, what are the research questions in accounting, right? What? But I didn't say it. God, I didn't want to look dumb, and it really wasn't the topic. I didn't want to. I didn't want to know. Is actually why I didn't ask. But I thought it. But then the next thing I thought and kind of knew, and knew more and more deeply later, um, was that me not knowing me not knowing what the research questions are in accounting is not a statement about accounting. It's a statement about me. And it's a statement about my own ignorance, simply meaning I don't know that. I don't know it. Now I have a framework because I know what it is. I know what spreadsheets are. I can go to Google. Maybe I used Quicken to keep track of my budget. You know what I mean? I know a little bit, and I have a little bit of a starting point, so I can go generate some more information, flesh out my framework, and start asking better questions. As you get more and more knowledgeable about a subject matter, you acquire more and more questions. Okay? And some people will say, I don't know what I don't know. And at that point, That's not a useful statement because you're wrapping yourself around your own axle trying to be clever, and it's hard to parse. I don't know what I don't know, you know. And then this basically, where are we at? Yeah, that's second. This one, right? That's kind of what that is, right? Stuff you don't know, you don't know. And then finally, in the third order ignorance, you don't even have a framework. You don't even have a way of generating the questions. What are you doing? You're building the framework. The number one task of a doctoral program is third order ignorance, to reconstruct a new framework of thought, idea, information, things that are already known, things that you just figured out yourself, create a brand new framework that pops out of that, from which pops your research questions. You ask anybody who's like ABD, Albert Dissertation, in a PhD program, what they're working on, and they will all tell you the same thing. Uh, it's Fortnite. No, what they will all tell you the same thing, which is, I'm just trying to figure out what my research question is. Meaning, now they don't know this, but meaning that they are constructing a brand new framework that's never existed before on the planet, from which new questions are going to pop out that have never been asked before. That is what it's all about. Okay? Those are the orders of ignorance. And we're out of time. And I hope, and we're going to come back. We'll come back, blah, 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 more stuff, lots writing. I don't know. We're going to be okay. We're just going to get to surgery and then the watch party. Oh, yeah, this. I still got to edit that. Okay. Anyway, I hope, read the Armor article that I posted. It should have been already part of the readings, right? But this is my way of attempting to put a little more meat on the bones, you know, relative to what Phil wrote in that appendix. So, all right, that's all I got for now. I'm beat. It's been quite a day. It's been quite a half a week. So, and I lost track of some of the comments, so I got to reread those. But anyway, yeah, Camille, I don't know what the research. I still don't know because you know what? I still don't care. I really, really don't care. I have a guess. I have a guess. It's been really, yeah, thanks, Gabe. Um, I have a guess about the research questions in accounting. And I think they're most, and by the way, look this up, somebody, go figure it out. Go build a framework. Um, I believe the answer is actually ethics. I believe the most interesting research questions in accounting are ethics, all in the wake of Arthur Anderson, Enron. I believe that those are the biggest, coolest research questions of the last 20 years. Prove me wrong. I've never looked it up. I've never asked Google, but just piecing together what little bits I get here and there, that's what's kind of come to me as probably the answer. So somebody can confirm or deny on that. The best way to find out, by the way, because I'm a researcher and an academic, go find the top journals in the field of accounting and just go look at what the research papers are about. Boom, topics. Now you know what the questions were for the last year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Find those journals. All right. Harrison Ford in The Fugitive. You find that man. Yeah, you find those journals and you will know what the past research questions have been. They become part of your new world. Build new framework, make new questions. Boom. Okay. Get out of here. I'm tired. Anyway, take care. Good luck in all your classes. This is not going to be your brutal class, so that's okay. Do great in all the really brutal ones, okay? The ones where you really got to knuckle down like insanity. Smoke those. Write your compiler. Do your architecture crap. Do your physics. All right. You're very welcome. You guys do great. Super great comments as always. And I'm going to shut this thing down. Compiler, Alex, man. Whew. Compiler. That's tough, man. I did it myself. I know what you're going through. And I have great sympathy and empathy for you. Can't do anything about it for you, but got to go through it. All right, I'm out of here. I keep talking. So what happens when you get old? You just ramble. I start talking to Hubert, the hand, you know. Okay, I'm out of here. I really am.